C# 9 has come with such a useful and incredible new features that I'm already making use of them in my code, and I'm very happy to do so. And if you don't, you are making a big mistake. In this video, we'll talk about record, which is the best productivity feature that is added to C# in the past few versions. We will also talk about init and with keywords. So, if you want to code like never before, watch this to the end. First of all, if we want to use C# 9, we need .NET 5 installed on our computer. If you are using Visual Studio 2019, the latest version includes .NET 5. You can double check it in the Visual Studio installer. In the individual components, we can see .NET 5 runtime is checked, so we are good to go. But if you are not using Visual Studio and you're using something like Visual Studio Code, you need to manually download .NET 5 SDK and runtime. You can do this in this address .net.microsoft.com/download. Here you can download .NET 5 SDK and runtime. After you create any type of C# project, you can double click on the project and check what version of .NET we are using. Here we are using .NET 5. Now let's get our hands dirty. Here we have a person class with a few properties and a constructor. Oh, if you don't know about this syntax, check out my other video with the title C# tuples best tree. The link to that video should appear now in the top corner of the video. In the main method, we are instantiating an object of the person class. We are using the constructor and property initialization syntax to initialize these properties. We use this syntax a lot because it's very clear, but there is a problem with it. If we want to use it, we have to use set accessors in our properties. Now let's say we want these properties to be immutable, so no one can change the value of them after the initialization. If we want to do that, we have to create another read-only field and remove the set from this. And in the get accessor, we should return the value of that field. We can then assign the property from the constructor, but it is a lot of work and it's not fun. So in C# 9, there is a new keyword, a new accessor, init accessor. We can use init instead of set accessors. When we use init, no one can change the value of the property after the initialization phase. As you can see, this produces error. I said initialization phase. We will talk about that in a moment. Now let's remove this. There is also another new keyword in C#. It's record. Record can be used in the place of class and structs. Record is not a new type. Underneath, it's still a class, but when we use record, C# compiler kicks in and adds a few methods and behavior to the class. Now let's check them one by one. The very first thing is that it adds a print members and an override of toString. Print members appends the list of property names and their values in a comma-separated string, and the toString override wraps them with brackets and the name of the record. So here we are printing the person. Let's see what we get. As you can see, this is produced by print members, and toString adds these two. But in case of the class, we get something odd, like this. Next is value-based equality. Records are useful for value-based objects. Value objects are the objects that have no identity of their own. The identity of a value-based object is defined by the values of their properties. Two value objects are equal if all of their properties have the same values. Now, if we had another person here with the same values for the properties and we check for the equality, it has to be true. As you can see, it's true. C# compiler has overridden the operators for equality and get hash code and equals method in the record. So we have value-based equality on the records. Records can also have methods, just like a class. There is no difference. What about inheritance? It's the same way as classes. We can create another record called student and we inherit from person. Did you notice this difference from the classes? Normally in a class we send arguments to the parent one by one, but here we are sending an instance of the person to the parent class, while here in the constructor we are getting them one by one. It's because records support object deconstruction. I have a full video on object deconstruction and how we can implement them in the classes in C#. The link to that video should appear now in the top corner of the video. Object deconstruction in the records is defined by the constructor. But it can be easier than this, because there is another type of record called positional record. In positional record, we can remove all of these and all of these and finish it here. So in the positional record we have the constructor in front of the name of the record. We should change these to upper names because these define the properties. The properties are automatically defined with init accessors. So positional records are immutable. A positional record still can have a body and we can add any method or anything else in that body. When we use positional records, the inheritance works the same way as constructors. So we can remove these. We can add the parent properties here in the constructor and add any other properties that we want. We should also pass the parent properties to it. That's much cleaner and much more understandable. Now we can focus on productivity instead of codes. One other feature was that the compiler adds automatically the construct method. So let's check it out. We can deconstruct person to its properties just like this. Now F is first name and L is last name. Let's also remove this. There is also another feature that compiler adds, member-wise clone and copy. We can copy records to another record. Let's define another person here. And let's copy the person one into it. We can do it by adding a with keyword after the person. The with keyword has a body. In the body we can change the properties to anything else. The other properties are copied over. So now the person 2 gets all the properties of the person 1 with the change of the first name to Jane. Let's print it out and check it out. As you can see, first name has been changed. Remember I said we will talk about initialization phase? Now is the time. So initialization phase is the time that starts with constructor chain, continues with the property initialization syntax, and ends after the body of the with keyword. So after this, the properties that are defined with init accessors cannot be changed. There are also other new features in C#9. Do you want me to create another video for them? So let's have a goal of 50 likes for this video. If we reach that, I'll create the part 2 of this video and we will cover the other features that are available in C#9. So don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel with notification bell enabled so you will be notified when the new video arrives. Until next time, adios amigos.